conflict. Spokeswoman Jen Psaki says the U.S. has had dozens of engagements with leaders in the region. At this point, though, the fighting continues. The House approving nearly $2 billion to boost Capitol security, but it passed by just one vote. Now heading to the Senate, along with a bill to create an independent commission to probe the Capitol riot. The Department of Homeland Security plans to ramp up social media tracking, part of enhanced focus on domestic violent extremism. But they're also acknowledging civil liberty concerns and insist the focus will be on deterring crime, not policing speech. Day 2 of testimony over the murder of a college student in Iowa. Fox's Jeff Manasso has this live.
Lisa, prosecutors in the trial of Mexican national Christian Rivera say it was video surveillance cameras at a home in Brooklyn, Iowa, that first caught what appeared to be a jogger in 2018, believed to be then missing 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts. The cameras then caught something else.
From the time
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Readers rejoice. This week, Amazon unveiled the Kindle Flare, the latest model of their popular e-reader. The improved device has the ability to loudly and repeatedly announce the title of the book you're reading so everyone knows how smart you are.
Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut.
The hot new e-reader includes a massive catalog of titles, a sleek, easy-to-use interface, and a loud, clear voice that barks the name and author of your book on a loop. Amazon says the repetitive shouting is a small feature that makes a big difference. Readers say that with crystal clear 150 decibel stereo speakers, the Flare provides the most conspicuous reading experience yet. When you're not reading, the Flare automatically switches into bookshelf mode, which conserves power and reads off a list of everything on your Kindle.
Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, a confederacy of dunces.
And Amazon's competition has also stepped up their game as Apple released a new iPad that whispers, "I have an iPad," over and over again.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
That's right, it is Free Talk. Free Talk Live. Sorry, I'm getting some audio feedback in my headphones there. It's Mark with you.
Henry Raines.
Coming to you from the remote studios in Sarasota, Florida. Well, Bradenton, Florida. Where are we, Henry?
We are in Bradenton.
We are in unincorporated Manatee County.
We are in a Bradenton zip.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, people choose to say.
They don't want to care about that. If we're going to go uber local, we can talk about the illegal medieval fair that people had to resign out of Sarasota County government about this week.
What? Yeah. I know nothing about this. I would have gone to this illegal medieval fair. What?
Well, no, it hasn't launched yet, but yes. Well, now we have to. If you want me to talk about this, then I got to explain the geography. On the south side of Tampa Bay, you have Manatee County. And south of Manatee County, you have Sarasota County. Many people have heard of Sarasota. And Manatee County is the county in between there and Tampa Bay. So
Manatee County is Sarasota's dirty little redneck sister.
Mark.
What?
This is the home of Lakewood Ranch, Manatee County is.
You know, when I grew up, it was just Schrader Manatee Ranch.
Well, when did you grow up?
Well, I was born in 1971.
So what, last year you grew up?
Graduated
anyway,
high school in 1989.
Let's get back to the story at hand, because this is the story of corruption, arrogance, malfeasance, impunity, and all kinds of bad nouns. So there is something called the Sarasota Medieval Fair, which up until recently had occurred in Sarasota County at the fairgrounds.
Now, Sarasota's unusual in so much as their Renaissance Festival is called the Medieval Fair, or Ren Fair. Ren Fair or Renaissance Festival, these terms most people are familiar with. People aren't familiar with the Medieval Fair, but it's basically the same thing.
Thank you. It's where people cosplay as people from the Middle Ages and swing
or something like
broadswords and say thou and thee and stuff like that.
You can get an awesome turkey leg and throw some hatchets at a wall.
Great. Anyway, it had occurred at the Sarasota County Fairgrounds, which is where lots of things happen because it's a venue for big events. Well, whoever the nonprofit organization consists of the medieval fair, they decided they needed a new home. And rather than go back to the Sarasota County Fairgrounds, they purchased property out in Manatee County. Now we're talking the county just to the north, in a very rural part of Manatee County that only has a 2-lane road that goes by their purchased property, that they want to hold an event that is going to have thousands and thousands of people come to it in a very rural area, and the neighbors are not happy about that.
Once a week, for 1 week, once a year.
Perhaps. That was once a week when they had to rent the place. But now that they were going to own the property, who knows what they had in mind.
Sure.
But it's zoned agricultural, which...
They would have horses. I mean, there's jousting and these sorts of things. You don't get to
put events like that there. But where it gets icky and sticky is not from the rain, but because the neighbors of there, which are rural farmers and similar ranchettes even, they didn't like the idea of that. And not only that, as they started bulldozing on this property, it started to cause runoff into the neighbor's property. So they complained to Manatee County officials who had the jurisdiction. Well, the agent for that area of the county, only one because it's rural, came out and was like, there's no permits. They haven't gotten a permit from the Florida Department of Transportation for what they want to do on the road. They haven't gotten a permit for any of this construction they're doing. And they certainly haven't changed the zoning from agricultural to some kind of commercial enterprise.
These are my kind of people.
Yes, well, we'll see about that when I finish this story. Anyway, so the very competent, industrious bureaucrat goes back to Manatee County.
Where did we find this competent and industrious bureaucrat?
And brings it to her superior, and he says to her, look whose name is on the deed, or owns the property. And it happens to be a very high official in the building and planning department of Sarasota County, the county just to the south. And her son is the person that she interfaces with, which used to be a trendy term that I couldn't come up with anything else, but interfaced with when she went out there, who told her, oh, we're just renovating a nursery here. So at that time, she just didn't have permits. She just had the allegations of the neighbors, but just the fact that you don't have any permits and you start construction is enough to go for a stop work order.
Unless there was existing buildings, then you could renovate the existing buildings.
Right. And so her superior says, well, we can't do anything about this. Now, also in this, she had subsequently looked at the Medieval Fair's advertisements or website advertising, and it says,
that
come
address.
to our new home.
the renovated nursery.
Yes. And they go back, and the superior says, well, just close the case. She goes, I can't close the case. That's in violation.
Right. So this is the good old boys network kicking in
yes,
here.
And he goes, well, then don't, because I've just put, I'm making up a name, John in charge.
Right. So suddenly this industrious and vigilant and pure bureaucrat has taken off because somebody who
to enforce it.
Yeah, somebody who will be willing to look the other way has been put on.
Well, not only look the other way, but he closed the complaints out, and he got a promotion to be the other bureaucrat's superior.
Oh my.
Yes. And those things proceed like that. Now, the bureaucrat that was in question, she continues to look at this and finds more things out. Like the son of the Sarasota County planning person finally admits, well, yeah, this is sort of the home for the new medieval fair. But
it's also a renovated nursery.
And when she reaches out, when investigators reach out to the mother, she said, I didn't know anything about it. Whoa, what a surprise. Oh, well, then it turns out that she's on the board of directors of the Medieval Fair, who she actually said, well, you should contact the Sarasota Medieval Fair to find out what's going on, of which she's the board of directors. So I guess that was good advice. And she said, well, I have nothing to do it. And then it turns out that back in September of last year, her pictures are on the website at the groundbreaking of the ceremony. So we have multiple lies going on, and continuing to every time there was a complaint from the neighbors that of everything, without rehashing it, was going on, the runoffs, everything, they kept putting it off, closing it out. Well, this week, suddenly, the Sarasota County official resigns, and the local newspaper got the email exchange, and it says, per our conversation, I resign this day. And she gets, and you see the other email of her superior reading back, and it is effective today. So that is the latest. Seems like she has been in trouble. And we have the Florida Department of Transportation now has noticed that nobody asked them if they could change that state road, which I say state highway, it's under their jurisdiction. And now they're investigating. And we actually have an inspector general in Manatee County, and it is a county of 400,000 people. Manatee County Inspector General is on the case now, and we expect
I don't even know who to
dominoes to fall soon.
I really don't even know who to root for here. I mean, on one hand, I like the idea of the little guy just doing what the little guy does on their property, but when the big guy does what the big guy wants to do on his or her, in this case, property, and the little guy can't, then that is, that's oppression under the color of law.
I'm new to all this libertarian stuff, Mark.
Yeah, sure.
But isn't one of the things that libertarians say that you should be able to solve these disputes through torts and the legal system?
Indeed. And there would be some of that. I will talk to you about this a little bit more. I think this is important. It's also important to know this is Bitcoin Pizza Day. So we'll talk about what Bitcoin Pizza Day is coming up here very shortly. The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Attorney, not specialized in this, but we could at least opine a little bit.
Free Talk Live. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. It's Mark with you.
Henry Raines.
And I think it's, before we go on, Henry, about the libertarian theory surrounding how we would deal with this situation of an unauthorized fair on a byway in Manatee County.
Well, actually, you would back it up to the point where you were doing something on your property that hindered the existing use of your neighbor's property.
Yes, we'll talk about that in just one moment. But I want to talk about Bitcoin Pizza Day real quick.
Are you hungry?
Well, I did have some pizza yesterday that was really good. I was very surprised that Whole Foods might make one of the best pizzas in the Suncoast area.
Just have an anti-Jeff Bezos bias about pizza? Or
I just don't believe that chain restaurants can produce the best food. You know, I was obviously people won't know these names, but they do understand what it's like to get a local pizza. And local pizzas,
Yes.
I think many people would agree. So I was a Zorba's guy, and then I went to become a Rico's guy. By the way...
Which is a chain.
Well, it's a chain of 4 restaurants owned by the guy who had Zorba's. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Sal. He's, I mean, those Greek guys. They make great food, and he's they're good businessmen, and they run all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it's great pizza, and I would have called that the best pizza in the area up until, wow, I really had a great pie out of Whole Foods.
What'd you have on it?
Pepperoni and mushroom.
You sort of a thin crust kind of guy?
Yep. I do like the New York style. This one even had a bubble in the crust.
Well, what's Chicago style? I thought
Chicago's very thick. It's like a
pan.
pizza cake. Yeah,
I heard of somebody advertising St. Louis style pizza, and I didn't have any idea that was a.
Is it barbecue?
What?
Is it barbecue? Is it just a steak in a round shape? I have no idea what they must mean by St. Louis style pizza, but. If St. Louis has developed their own style pizza, I support them. It's just not likely that I would give up my preference for New York style, which is what the thin crust kind of people do. And anyway, it was great.
I think the people that advertise the St. Louis style pizza just sort of have a misplaced chauvinism about St. Louis.
I tend to think that's the case.
Yeah.
But if I don't have a problem with people liking where they're from, I think that's good. I wish you'd continue to vote there and have the influence in the area that you come to. As a native of Florida, like you,
yes.
I kind of am just a little put out at the Yankees who come down here and then begin to vote. Just straight away. The idea that you can walk in and then 60 days later you're voting away, it bugs me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like it much. That's funny from a guy who
very
moved.
Anti-freedom.
No.
Why do you want them to vote in a place they don't live?
I want them to. Well, what does live mean? When they're coming down here for half the year, is that living?
Okay, half a year. They pick one or the other. I mean, it's illegal to vote both places.
Agreed, but shouldn't you vote at the place that you've been for? If you've lived all your life in, you pick the place. St. Louis.
I think you should vote in the place that you currently exist. Well, if you're living half of the time here and half the time somewhere else, you make a decision. Where do I want to vote? Where am I paying my taxes?
2 weeks ago,
where am I homesteading?
2 weeks ago, I existed in Puerto Rico. I was just visiting for 5 days, but
you're taking me literally on exist. I'm saying you're in your current circumstances. Where do you homestead? Where do you pay taxes? That's where you should vote.
Here's what I would say: I would say
property taxes.
Voting probably shouldn't exist. And the idea that people get together and say, "Hey, this is how your life's going to be," because there's more of us than you, is just might makes right. With some legal stuff slapped on the front of it.
Right.
Bitcoin Pizza Day. Bitcoin Pizza Day is today. Today of, what is it, 11 years ago, Henry? 2000 and...
You tell me.
Oh, God.
It doesn't matter. It's when the guy was dumb enough to give away all his Bitcoin for a $10 pizza that's worth $400 million in Bitcoin today.
Well, would Bitcoin be worth anything if it wasn't, if it wasn't spent? If that guy hadn't spent his money on that pizza.
it would still be worth it whether he had bought that pizza or not.
Here it's a story from today. Bitcoin Pizza Day. Well, the guy's name is Laszlo Heinrichs. Spent $3.8 billion on pizzas in the summer of 2010 using the novel cryptocurrency. So
$3.8 billion?
Yeah, it was. I can't remember how much.
I thought it was like 400 Bitcoin or something.
Yeah, it was some large number. Let's see. The purchase equated to roughly $41 back in 2010. Now, this is the first purchase ever with 10,000 Bitcoins.
Okay.
So the 10,000 Bitcoins weren't worth anything prior to...
37,800 today. So 10,000 Bitcoins is 4 zeros, and we take the 37,000...
We'll just call it's billions of dollars.
Okay.
So anyway, 10,000 Bitcoins wasn't worth anything until this guy managed to get somebody else to send him some pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin.
Only by the...
Get on the mic.
Only because I am stunned that you want to say this. The only reason Bitcoin is worth 37,000 today is because
37,000 US dollars.
For the moment, as it exists today, this moment. But it's because the financial wizards at Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs and hedge funds are flowing money into it. So it really doesn't matter what the original thing that was bought. The fact that it existed and it has continued to exist and not been hacked.
Well, I've watched enough time travel movies to know, A, Benjamin Franklin's a very busy guy and kept really great secrets, and B, you can't change the time frame without changing everything.
It's not necessarily cause and effect that the pizza was bought and now the Bitcoin's 37,000.
I can tell you this: had someone not done the first
maybe if
transaction,
he negotiated better, it would have been 1,000 Bitcoin. That doesn't mean it would only be worth $3,700 today.
Well, at the time, Bitcoin was worth nothing. It was just computer code.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to sit here now and look
Maybe
back.
the pizza was worth nothing. Maybe it sucked. Maybe it was some St. Louis style pizza.
As I understand,
it was deficient.
As I understand, it was 2 Domino's pizzas.
I rest my case.
So people pay for that all the time. Yeah. Anyway, today's Bitcoin Pizza Day, and that's great. What was the topic that we were derailed on there, Henry? Which one are we going back to at this point?
People abusing the property rights of their neighbors, facing impunity from the bureaucrats that usurp the integrity of their fellow bureaucrats.
The libertarian theory on this would be that, first off, presuming that there wasn't some kind of homeowners association, some kind of impingement on the deed. It's rural. And so one would presume that there's just that you pretty much can do anything you want on the land. The idea that people move out to the country and they say the animals are making noises, they're having sex out on the lawn, and their poop stinks is really a great frustration.
That doesn't seem to be the issue here.
I know.
And by the way, it's zoned agricultural.
Right. If a place is zoned agricultural and you move out there, expect animals to stink and make noise and, have sex on the lawn. So those are good things. Now, if you...
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Karl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
If you're looking for work, there's a piece of paper more important than your resume. It's the cover letter attached if you're snail mailing, or the email to which you attach your resume. Make it 4 short paragraphs. Paragraph 1, say that you're applying for work. The person you're sending to gets a ton of mail about all sorts of things. If you have a password, that's your first sentence. Tom Nelson tells me you and I should meet. Paragraph 2, what you do and how that relates to the opening. Be as specific as possible. Paragraph 3, why you want this particular job. I'm originally from Boston, so I know the market well. I have family and friends in the area, so this would be a homecoming for me. Paragraph 4, unless the job posting stipulates no calls, and I will call you to follow up. Thank you in advance for your time. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
The way I do psychic readings is a little bit different. I read the veins of your penis, and I can tell your future.
That is a new one.
Is this a hands-on procedure?
Yeah. Well,
Does it come with a happy ending?
No, guys, I'm a businessman. I'm very professional. I'll tell you why I think he arrested me. I told him, I said, I can see right here that your life's going to be very short. He got upset and arrested me.
So he thought that you were making a comment about his size.
Yeah,
is what
the size of his. Yeah. Look here, I'm only interested in the veins, and I'm very professional.
Now, where did you learn this technique?
My dad.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
And Henry Raines here in the glorious 1490 WWPR studio in the greater Bradenton metro area. And I understand we have a caller, and this is Scott. And Scott, do you refer to yourself as Scott the Bigot or Scott the Anti-Semite?
Well, hold on. I don't want to bring Scott on because I have to mention our sponsor for this segment, which is Bitcoin.com. So it's Bitcoin Pizza Day, brought to you by Bitcoin.com. Go check them out. If you don't know anything about Bitcoin, that's the place to go. Click on Get Started. It's right there at the top of the page. Bitcoin.com. If you're a long-time user of Bitcoin and you're familiar with this stuff, go sign up for their news alerts at news.bitcoin.com. And now you can ask your question of Scott.
Scott, how would you like to be referred to?
Scott the Anti-Semite.
That was very low in my volume.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Yeah, Scott the Anti-Semite.
Scott the Anti-Semite. Well,
Yeah.
for the time being, I'm happy to refer to people as they like to be referred.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Good evening, Mark and Henry. What's on my mind is tonight's broadcast is how stupid the American people are. I hate to say it, but they're getting fatter, dumber, and more stupid by the day. They don't even want to learn. What I mean by that is, they don't want to know who's the power behind the throne. They're just playing video games, getting fatter, eating garbage food. What tonight's broadcast is this? They don't understand that the Jews who comprise only 2%.
Scott, before we go on that topic that you want to talk about, which we will, but have you ever considered that maybe your expectations are too high? That you expect too much of people, and really you need to meet them where they are to make your point?
What you're basically saying is I need to lower my standards for them.
Well, we can try. Maybe I'll understand.
The American people, it's so pathetic. They are getting more dumbed down by the day, and it's not even dumbed down. They're like in a daze, in a funk. When I talk to people and I try to tell them about what's going on in America, the economy's crashing, the dollar's going to. One of them said, "Dude, everything's fine. Everything. There's no problem. This is what's going on in America today. You give people some stimulus, you give them their Dunkin' Donuts, their McDonald's, and they're as happy as can be. But that doesn't mean that they know what's going on and they're stupid. But to get to my broadcast tonight, the Jews who comprise only 2% of the U.S. population control Wall Street, the Federal Reserve, Washington, D.C., the media, Hollywood, the Supreme Court, Las Vegas, APEC, etc. How is this possible? That is why
is that a rhetorical question? But because I want to address the things you want to talk about, but I'm thinking that maybe you catch more flies with honey or sugar or whatever that sweet stuff is they like, and you should tell people, I know that you're smart enough and concerned enough that you're going to want to know this. You got to tease them a little and give them something to make them want to listen to you.
Right. 80% of the population believes that they are above average intelligence, which is some real bad math.
So,
well, all right, you do get more with honey than with vinegar. I agree. All right, so I'll say that they're geniuses, and please try to listen to what I'm trying to say. That sounds sarcastic. I'll just say, do you understand what I'm saying?
Do you understand what I'm saying? Thank you for the call, Scott. I appreciate it. Not really.
I thought we were just. I thought I was making progress with Scott. I thought Scott and I were starting to get sort of, get a chemistry going there.
What kind of progress did you think you were going to make with Scott?
I thought we were making lots of progress. I don't know what the progress is because the progress is out in front of me in the future. So I have to wait for the progress to become the present.
Well, everybody.
But I thought we were moving.
Well, I got to say this counseling session was cut short by me, and it's because it's not a counseling session, Henry.
All right. Well, what would you like to talk about, Mark? We were talking about something. I remember agricultural and cubic yards of dirt or something like that.
Well, we were also talking about Bitcoin Pizza Day and what, in the timeline, what does one individual situation cause? Does one particular individual situation cause other things? And I would say that, the fact that I had French toast on my 14th birthday probably doesn't cause what happened today to happen. But if I had some traumatic experience that happened in my life...
Actually, it just did.
What's that, French toast?
Yes, you're talking about it on the radio, so it did make something happen today.
I have no idea if it's true, but were it true, I don't, I don't think that would be sort of relevant. But
false memories seem to be causative too. Then
what's that?
I said false memories seem to be causative too.
certainly make them up. But if something traumatic happens and important happens, then you can probably say that life wouldn't have been the same. So, for instance, had I chosen not to follow my business partner Ian Freeman to New Hampshire when he was bound and determined to move Free Talk Live up there in 2006, instead had stayed here in the Suncoast of Florida working for a prestigious lifestyle magazine and perhaps getting very likely, the offer was on the table to be the associate publisher. And had
you walked away from that for this?
I did. But I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have been participating on the show as it was the first media in the world to discuss Bitcoin, and my life certainly would have turned out differently. So. These are just sort of, cause and effect situations. You can't necessarily say what was happening.
Well, you have a very deterministic way of looking at everything, Mark. And, if I hadn't picked up my first comic book at age 6 or 5, whatever that was, you never would have had a comic book store to go to, and your whole life would have been different, too.
Indeed, it would. Determinism, I blame it on the Methodist Church I went to.
Okay.
Regarding property rights and people's property and that sort of thing.
Yes.
We're talking about a situation here in Manatee County where an organization that's putting on a Renaissance Festival bought a piece of property and decided that they were going to have their Renaissance Festival on this piece of property and then went through none of the permitting process.
And the ownership being a person who is in charge of those kind of rules and regulations in Sarasota County. So you would think that that person would know when they are doing wrong by those same rules and regulations in the adjacent county.
And they apparently were doing some amount of, we don't know how much. Moving land
We sort
around.
of do know.
We do? Okay.
Yes.
They were moving around a lot of land then?
So I just happen to have the regulation here so that we don't have to speak in the hypothetical.
Okay.
So to maintain your property's agricultural exemption, in other words, pay lower taxes and use it for agriculture,
yep,
which is the only thing that land is zoned for out there, other than perhaps just pure residential use.
Yeah, you could live on agricultural land and not have cows.
Yes. The extension, you violate it by bringing in more than 10 yards of fill dirt. Now,
this is cubic yards, and that's a lot of dirt.
Sure. And
is that per acre or just general? So if you have 100 acres or if you have 10 acres, it doesn't matter. You bring in 10 yards.
Yes.
Okay.
Without a permit or anything.
Well, screw them.
You can do what you want on your property, but there is a limit to that. And it said that there were complaints from multiple eyewitnesses, including neighbors and state officials, who saw hundreds of yards of fill being brought onto the property. To retain an agricultural exemption, I said no more than 10 yards. And if the can be brought onto the property or removed, and the land alteration is forbidden. So you can't even use it to change the topology of the land. Acres have been cleared, structures have been built, and a road is currently being paved on the land.
Well,
and their runoff from this,
you call it a road, I call it a driveway.
Well, you can call it what you want, but the neighbors are calling it runoff from activities causing runoff that is damaging their property.
And if that's so, then that is a tort. And a tort is a legal term where
but
you have
in the meantime, they need a stop order for the people violating the rules and regulations of the county while this works its way through the court system.
Can't the judge give that?
The county planning department and building
beating
department.
them to it. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in. Talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
And Harry Raines. Sorry, I was slurring my speech. There's a microphone condom here, and I got too close to it because you keep telling me to get close. And the smell on this thing.
But what do you want from me? You know, I mean...
I don't want your microphone condom.
It's an old radio station.
Yeah.
The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. There's another mic muff. You can put it right on there.
It's going to make all kinds of noise coming off this one.
Not anymore, it's not. What's going on here in Free Talk Live? We've done a little show prep. You can call in anytime you want at 603-283-6160. And it's apparently, Henry, you've got a story about Rick Santorum getting fired off of CNN. I can't even imagine he ever got a job there. It shows what I know. I don't listen to these shows.
Well, he not only got a job, he got a contract that has been in effect for quite a while. Now, that's on top of, I imagine he's getting a pension from being a U.S. Senator for so many years for the state of Pennsylvania.
10 years. If you've been 10 years, that's when you get the bennies. It's better than hazard pay or what firemen get or cops or anything.
Does he get to go back and use the Senate gym and the cafeteria and commissary and all?
I don't know the answer to that, but I wouldn't think, it's not easy to get in and get out of there. So I would tend to think that it's...
Well, anyway,
nobody uses it.
CNN has dropped the former Republican... Well, I guess we should say that. He's a Republican U.S. Senator, although it shouldn't be surprising to anyone if you've ever heard him speak. Yeah, after... now, this is... I am not making these editorial judgments as I read a couple excerpts from this report from U.S. News and World Report, it looks like. But they called it racist remarks he made about Native Americans at an event last April, just previous month. Termination was reported, and an anonymous CNN executive told Huffington Post that the leadership wasn't particularly satisfied with that appearance at the event in April. None of the anchors wanted to book him. I don't know how that coincides because he was speaking at the Young Americans Foundation, a conservative youth group, and he said there was, quote, nothing in the U.S. before European colonizers arrived. And I was making the comment that I don't even think that he would refer to the Europeans as colonizers. Although they were colonizers, if their colonies, etc., but that. If he went and saw the Black Panther movie and saw how his sister spoke to the SHIELD agent about colonizers, then I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want to talk in those terms to his audience at the Young Americans Foundation. Anyway, this is what he said. We came here and created a blank slate, which to me sounds exceptionally accurate because as you commit the removal of the Native Americans from the landmass, you are sort of making a human blank slate.
Well, since I do live radio, I'm willing to give a little bit of latitude to people when they sort of misspeak on the fly. So
this wasn't on the fly. He was called there to speak, and he should have put his thoughts together. But what else could it mean?
Well, it could mean that we
created a blank slate. We didn't find a blank slate. We created it.
We created much with the blank slate that God gave us when we came to America.
We birthed a nation.
Not inaccurate. I don't know who we is.
When he's there with his wife and his children, did he say, we birthed this? Because somebody else did the heavy lifting on that. But anyway, we birthed a nation from nothing. I mean, there was nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, there isn't much Native American culture in American culture. Again, another truth spoken by the Republican former senator from Pennsylvania. There isn't much Native American culture in American culture because we removed most of their culture except the parts we liked, with some sports names and things like that.
Well, the first thing I would say is about Native Americans is that they were on the unfortunate end of some diseases that...
You mean like when we gave them the blankets with the smallpox infection?
Mr.
Our
Santorum.
ancestors.
What's that?
Our ancestors.
Hey, my ancestors could be both Native American and...
Well, mine are too, but, the greater number of them, by appearances, tend to be Northern European.
When those people gave those people blankets that were
infected with
smallpox virus, then yes, those people, to my mind, are committing a crime, a murder, potentially, and they would be responsible for all the death that they caused.
Well, anyway, there's some backlash, and he was invited to speak on Chris Cuomo's to explain his comments. Santorum said he misspoke. By the way, Chris Cuomo is now having his own problems for speaking in strategy sessions for his governor brother, Andrew Cuomo, about the sexual harassment issues, but that's just a digression. Anyway, Santorum said he misspoke and denied he was trying to dismiss what happened to Native Americans. Far from it. The way we treated Native Americans was horrific. It goes against every bone and everything I've ever fought for as a leader in Congress, where he was known as such a fighter for Native American rights in Pennsylvania.
I don't know how many Native American tribes there are in Pennsylvania. I suspect they aren't a large portion of the population. I do think that there are Native tribes that vote by and large Republican. So, whatever their choices are when it comes to that. My biggest problem with what he says is this continued use of the term "we," because now if he's referring to the United States government, of which he was a part for some time, then I think that's the fairest use of the term "we." But I don't like this idea that one group of people can refer to another group of people historically and say that identify with them. It just doesn't make much sense. If I have Italian ancestry and German ancestry, I wouldn't say that we, the Romans, enslaved the Visigoths, right? Like, that's a stupid use of the language.
Okay.
That bothers me. When we're talking about Native Americans, some bad stuff happened. And it did sound like he misspoke when he said we started with a blank slate. It sounds like
we created a blank slate.
If
he said we started with a blank slate, it might even.
I think that's what he meant to say.
More mitigating.
I think that's what he meant to say. Is
Wow.
They started with a blank slate, but in fact, the creating a blank slate acknowledges.
I'm glad he wasn't negotiating nuclear treaties.
Well, they have lawyers to write that stuff up afterwards.
Okay.
So,
hey, he almost was president. I think he succeeded in hanging around some Republican primaries for the presidential election almost to the end.
I don't know how long he was in, but he's been in New Hampshire far more times than I would like.
You rented a room to him, didn't you?
I didn't rent anything to him. Some of my coworkers, gathered about him and talked about Googling a Santorum, which has been turned into a naughty word on the internet.
That was before Airbnb, anyway.
What is so he's lost his position at CNN?
Yes, he's lost his contract.
So lost his contract. What's that mean? Does he?
It means he probably calls Fox News, plays the victim card, and gets a new contract.
Well, that seems to be what continues to happen. But if he's any good, if he can do a show, well, I'll say this about Tucker Carlson. I may not agree with him on every issue every time, but I watch his monologues regularly because the guy is good. And I am of the opinion that resting Tucker face should be considered a national treasure.
Well, I will admit that I used to look forward to his weekly appearance on the Bubba the Love Sponge morning radio show here in Tampa Bay, and which may speak to his judgment in general, but
or his lack of foresight.
By the way, I heard someone saying on the radio, so it must be true, that Bubba is homeless now.
I can't imagine. I don't know what's going on with Todd Clem.
We'll find out that on the break.
What does homeless really, in fact, mean?
Right. If you have a cell phone in a car, how can you really be homeless?
Well, you got something going on. The rain isn't hitting you on the top of the head, so there's people more homeless than that, indeed. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Is CNN paying out his contract? If his contract
I don't have the details on that.
Okay. Yeah, if you let a player go in one of these super sports leagues or whatever, as my understanding is, you have to pay them out for the amount of time.
I think the biggest question from this whole article is how much longer will CNN be paying Chris Cuomo's contract out? that seems to be a little bit jeopardy now, too.
It's hard to be in the limelight like this, I've got to say. Now, as one of the hosts of the number 25 radio program in America.
You're going to apply?
I don't have any of these problems. I've been offered the opportunity to go to New York and be on these channels and do that stuff, but I don't want to live there, and I don't want that lifestyle. And there's just too much to it. And at some point or another, relatively quickly, I'm going to say something that will get me fired off of them anyway. The people offering these things clearly haven't dug deeply enough to.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Not so quiet diplomacy. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Biden speaking with the Egyptian leader today about a possible ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Our approach here and our strategic approach here is to continue to communicate directly, stay closely interlocked with the Israelis, with partners on the ground, to do everything we can to bring an end to the conflict.
Spokeswoman Jen Psaki says the U.S. has had dozens of engagements with leaders in the region. At this point, though, the fighting continues. The House approving nearly $2 billion to boost Capitol security, but it passed by just one vote. Now heading to the Senate, along with a bill to create an independent commission to probe the Capitol riot. The Department of Homeland Security plans to ramp up social media tracking, part of enhanced focus on domestic violent extremism, but they're also acknowledging civil liberty concerns and insist the focus will be on deterring crime, not policing speech. Day 2 of testimony over the murder of a college student in Iowa. Fox's Jeff Manasso has this live.
Lisa, prosecutors in the trial of Mexican national Christian Rivera say it was video surveillance cameras at a home in Brooklyn, Iowa, that first caught what appeared to be a jogger in 2018, believed to be then missing 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts. The cameras then caught something else.
From the
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
This week, the Forest Service rolled out a brand new Smokey the Bear campaign in which the popular mascot burns to death. They say they hope the shocking turn will get people serious about preventing forest fires for once. The new campaign depicts Smokey the Bear noticing a family leave a flame unattended. Before he can put it out, the entire forest is consumed and Smokey dies in agony while trying to fight the blaze. Despite educating the public for over 70 years, the Forest Service says wildfires have only gotten worse and it was time to take their warnings to the next level. The new ads aim to show that if Smokey the Bear can be killed by the very type of fire he works so tirelessly to prevent, it could happen to anyone at any time. So what's next for the long-running campaign? Well, now that their primary spokesperson is out of the picture, the Ad Council says the PSAs will shift focus to a new character named Little Brian. He's the boy whose family caused the fire in the first place, and he's grappling with crippling guilt over Smokey's death.
This is the Onion News Network.
Time.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. The number 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is live 7 days a week from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're hearing my voice and it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And I can't do all the translations of all
live
the
and
times.
free.
What's that? Live and free, right there on the air. It's free otherwise if it's on your radio, but it's live and free at 603-283-6160. You can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Henry Rains.
Henry Rains.
How come you just use your first name and you tell me you should use your whole name?
I don't say that at all. I told you should have a pseudonym. What? But you do have. But you are Henry Rains on the radio. And what is what website do you plug for?
I don't plug any website anymore.
For many years,
I'm resting and living on my laurels.
For many years, it was the Henry Rains Show,
Yes.
and then you recently retired your Bitcoin show. What was it called?
The Henry Rains Show.
The Henry Rains Show was the Bitcoin show?
Just if you really want, Google Henry Rains and you can see whatever I was up to and even the stuff I didn't want you to know I was up to.
Now you're a host on Free Talk Live. You've been broadcasting
Co-host.
pretty darn...
Guest co-host.
Guest co-host. Pretty darn regularly for 20 years now. Or close to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. The numbers...
No, we're not even getting into the pro wrestling stuff yet. That actually preceded the radio.
I recall as a young man, I worked for you at a comic book store, and you got into pro wrestling, and I actually got to ring the bell at the wrestling matches.
The television taping or just the live event?
Just the live events. I don't know that...
Well, there was live wrestling at the television tapings, but, we were running on a tight clock back then, much like we do here now. That was sort of the training ground for it all.
It is a tight clock. And at that time, you were hammering Henry Rains.
Not on the TV tapings, because I found out it was really hard to run a TV taping and wrestle. So then I just used wrestled on the live.
So you were the announcer.
Spot shows, as they call them in the biz.
I see.
So
the number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. What do we got for show prep here, Hammer and Henry Rains?
Well, I have show prep.
Yep.
But I was making you a wager on the break that more people would want to talk and call in about what I was talking about than what you think I should be talking about.
Well,
I was talking about...
I don't think you should talk about anything in particular, but go right ahead.
Oh, well, you offer your opinions. I was talking to you. You were talking about age just now, how old you were and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I was talking about getting fake IDs, and you were remarking about the fact that driver's licenses, when I was getting driver's license, had no pictures.
I was stunned when you said it.
They just typed with a typewriter. They typed the information in on a blank form, and so it was much easier to have a fake ID if you were going to participate in things like underage drinking, which I freely admit, now that the statute of limitations are gone and my children are grown up, that I participate. But it was much easier because back when I was 16, the drinking age was 18. So it was much easier to pass, especially with an ID that had no picture on it. And I used Kevin Ross Mullins' draft ID.
You
draft
suppose
card.
Kevin Ross Mullins is
that
still
was
alive?
Pardon me?
You suppose he's still alive?
I don't know. Do you think he got drafted?
I don't know.
That was the end of the Vietnam War. There's a lot of things that could have happened to old Kevin.
So
But
you had his draft card, and you managed to use that to purchase alcohol?
It had a different color. It said brown eyes, and I have blue eyes. But usually that was sufficient to get me in the door. And if it didn't, I was pretty outraged that they would deny someone that was willing to give their life for the country if they got drafted a simple beer or mixed drink, adult beverage.
Well,
so where was the first place you drank? The first location, not like in the back of your friend's car because he got a 6-pack, but where did you first enter an adult establishment underage and drank?
Well, as far as a bar goes,
yeah,
I went to. They used to have these things. This seems so ill-conceived today, but it was very common when I was young. Now we have to talk about ages here because I'm 50 years old and I consider you young. Because you're only slightly
I'm 14 years older than you?
You're 14 years older than I am, and I've known you since I was 12. And so therefore you were only 21 in your early 20s when
late
20s was it? Okay, yeah, 26. Yeah, you're in your mid 20s when,
which was young to me now. So
right, when I was a kid, and so to me you're in the young category. I don't know, at some point soon there will be no old category for me because I will be 60, and then
old is anyone 20 years older than you.
Okay, great. Then there are people living that are older than me.
Yeah.
But at the time in Florida, I'm from the same place you are, Bradenton, Florida. You were born in Manatee Memorial Hospital?
Yes.
I was born in Sarasota Memorial Hospital.
Yeah.
Just miles apart. And there were these things called drive-through beverage stores. Yeah. And they were essentially convenience stores, but they had a rollout door on either side, and you pulled in and you got whatever beverages you were going to get. And by and large, when people go into convenience stores, they buy cigarettes, lotto tickets, and alcohol, right? I mean,
well, except there was no lotto back then.
Right, there was no lotto.
At least not
at the
for
time.
me.
Yeah, there was no lotto at the time, but so the people going through here are probably not buying a lot of vegetables and smoked meats, right? Like this is all convenience food fare,
right?
And they didn't have a problem at all serving a car full of 16-year-olds with funny haircuts.
Did they ask you for an ID?
No, not at all.
Oh.
So just buying alcohol. That was the first place that I ever purchased. I must say, I've had alcohol purchased for me when I was too young at a bar, but I never managed to pull off the whole fake ID because we had pictures on IDs when I was a kid. My restricted license.
You had to just bluff your way through?
I didn't get them. I just didn't do it. I never went to a bar and ordered illegally.
Well, how did you pursue older women?
I don't know. I thought
there's got to be callers that have much more exciting early adventures in underage drinking than you. I mean, we could be calling the Bush sisters, George Bush's daughters. They have more interesting experiences than you as underage drinkers.
Jeb Bush's daughters.
Well, now you're getting into places you don't, that's...
Drag them out of rehab and put them on the radio.
Oh, that's so cruel.
Well,
Jenna and Barbara Bush are happy to talk about they may not be happy, but that's something that they can show that they moved on. A little underage, underage drinking is one of the most criminal things that are so widely accepted, and it's just a dalliance that the young do.
Well, this is one of the areas that libertarians really do shine, because libertarians say that your parents...
Is that what you call drunk?
Right? Yes, it is. Libertarians say that your parents should decide when you start drinking. By whom would you say this, Henry? Is alcohol an important part of life in America?
It is, yes. It's a significant part.
Yeah, 97% of Americans have drank, and 80% of Americans do drink. So I would agree with you. This is important.
Adult?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't think you meant 97% of all Americans have drunk.
I think it's above some age.
There's some really messy 2-year-olds out there in that case.
So this is
when
important.
you travel with your toddler, a little vodka and NyQuil in the sippy cup will get you a longer distance.
And your toddler taken from you. But, this important part of life, by whom were you trained to drink? Like, with whom were you, with the first 10 times you drank, what were the ages of the people that were with you?
Well, I remember there was some older teenagers that had a beer, and they were doing something in a car, and they just wanted to give us beer to make us go away. That was like 12. But the first time I can remember going somewhere was a biker bar on US 41 here in town that we could get in. I didn't have to show the fake ID there.
So somewhere between 14 and
I was 16.
Yeah, so
I had my driver's license.
Pimply-faced, moronic teenagers.
No, I was not pimply-faced. I beg your pardon.
Trained you how to drink. This is the problem. The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Free Talk.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
I found out about Free Talk Live. Call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
And Henry.
The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you can call in and talk about whatever you want, so long as it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're certainly going to get to the phones here. I want to talk real quick about the Crypto 6. So on March
Crypto
6? 6. The Crypto 6.
Oh.
It's something entirely different. The Crypto 6 is a group of 6 people who were arrested on March the 16th for the dastardly crime of selling Bitcoin to people. Now, you can find out more about this story by going to crypto6.com. That's thecrypto6.com. It's important to push that little TH in there. Thecrypto6.com. And go check it out. Now, we were talking about drinking before we...
First experience underage drinking.
Yeah.
The when, the where, the how.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is that, and that I wanted, the thought that I wanted to finish was, I believe, well, so my son is 13 years old. Presumably, he is going to have some alcohol sometime within the next 5, 10 years. I'm not saying 5 to 10 years. I don't know what time frame is. I'm not.
And he hasn't at this point.
I believe strongly he hasn't. Okay. Kids today aren't getting out of the house nearly as often as.
Has he seen porn yet?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, so the world's changed, Henry.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to see porn and a lot harder to drink alcohol as a kid.
True. That's true.
So, I mean,
you need money for alcohol usually.
Well, he does his chores and he makes money.
I digressed you.
I don't want his, look, I, like most men my age, consider every male who is, 2 decades younger than me to probably be a mouth-breathing dullard, a knuckle-dragging moron, right? And I certainly don't think that teenage boys have enough experience and wisdom to be teaching my son to consume alcohol, which I consider to be an important part of American life, whether I like it or not. I don't consume alcohol personally, and I happen to know you don't either,
correct,
Henry. But I have,
yes,
and I know that and I know other people do, and I know it's important. I know, and I suspect strongly that my son Jack will at some point consume alcohol, and hopefully that training that goes on in alcohol consumption, he considers me a resource. because I did not consider my father a resource, or my mother, or anybody in my family when it came to the consumption of alcohol. It, to me, was I should hide this. And I don't want that. I want my son to talk to me about whenever it is that he'd like to consume alcohol. I'd like to be involved in this. And I would like cars to not be involved in it.
Agreed.
Yeah. Those are my thoughts regarding alcohol. Let's go to the phones. I think we got John in Tennessee calling in here. John, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, to be honest with you, when I was in Tennessee in 1980, 81, you could buy alcohol at 18.
Okay.
And I was not able, I just didn't buy it when I was underage. And but once I turned 18, 19, it was consumed quite heavily. But,
yeah, that's one of the things about an age range, is, giving an age to something is that you decide that you should do that. On my 17th birthday, I saw a rated R movie because that's what I could do. On my 16th birthday, I went and got my driver's license. On my 15th birthday, I went and got my restricted permit. On my 18th birthday, I went to what they called an all ages club, but you had to be 18 to get in. I don't know exactly how that works.
So how did you compare your drinking at 18 to 21? Were you more responsible at 21 than 18?
Much more. I'm thinking this is destroying your life. This could destroy your life. Let's don't do this anymore. And when I got married, my wife and I, we had one of the college cooler or college refrigerators. The short, box kind of
little tiny things
thing, and yeah, and we put it in the closet. And my son, who's now 23, when he was 12, he came in to our room and said, "Hey, could I have one of those Bud Lights and in your refrigerator?" And we both looked at each other, and I said, "Okay, no more alcohol or no more beer in the house."
So how old was he?
He was 12.
12. It's interesting.
12.
A lot of kids want to copy what their parents do, and I guess in my son's case, that was never a situation. He never was, hey, let's wash the dishes because mommy's washing the dishes. Let's fix the car because daddy's fixing the car. It's always want to do something else. But I imagine that there are plenty of kids that are asking for beers because mommy and daddy are having one.
Well, if it's in the closet hidden, that seems enticing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, that's what we thought, and we threw the actually we drank the beer, but we threw the cooler out or the refrigerator out, and we haven't had it in the house since. Of course,
so did he get the beer?
I'm sorry?
Did he get the beer? The statute of limitations are up.
No. My wife and I did.
No, I wanted to know, he came in at 12 years old and he asked for a beer. Did you give it to him?
No.
Yeah. And this is the thing is for me, if my son asked me for a beer, I would give it to him. Now I'd have to go get it because there are no the only beer in the house is this non-alcoholic beer. Henry, have you had one of these?
Have I had a non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah.
I think I've tasted one at one time.
So you don't drink,
pointless.
So I drink these non-alcoholic beers pretty regularly.
What is the point?
I like the taste of it.
Coffee.
I know. I drink decaf coffee too.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, John. So it turns out I like the taste of beer, and I like the taste of coffee. Coffee. But I can't have caffeine, and I choose not to drink alcohol. So there you go. If my son asked for a beer, I'd give it to him. And I would presume at age 13 that he would probably just not be interested in finishing it, and I would consider that a victory. But he would have to listen to, hey, look.
Make him shotgun it. That'll teach him.
Perhaps it would. I would, in fact, give him my little speech that alcohol is a carcinogenic, addictive poison that makes you fat, dumb, and ugly.
Yeah, that would work.
Well, nobody wants to be ugly.
Okay.
That's the gin blossom I'm referring to there.
So it's, if your friends are doing it, And at the moment you feel like you want to be with those people,
sure,
probably a pretty good chance you're going to be drinking no matter what your father or mother say.
I would say that's the case, and that's why I want to be the resource in the situation.
And if whoever you're attracted to is drinking, you better believe that's probably going to happen.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to happen at that point. The number 603-283-6160. Now 603-283-6160. Now, what do you think about young people being given alcohol by their parents? Because
what if your 7th grade teacher gave you alcohol? That's wrong, right?
That sounds like a crime.
Yes, okay.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
The remake, and
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It looks like we're talking about teenage drinking here on Free Talk Live. You never know what direction Free Talk Live is going to take because, as we used to say, here is the byline of the show, it's your show. Call in, talk about whatever you want to talk about. If it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll take your call and we'll chat with you. It's Mark with you.
And Henry.
The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Let's go to the phones. Jay in New Mexico. Jay, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello, Mark. I don't drink that firewater anymore. I crashed my mom's 79 Chrysler Cordoba.
Ooh.
So I don't do that stuff anymore. That's
probably
pretty
best.
silly of me.
What's on your mind?
I have a question.
Sure.
What is an immigrant native?
What is an immigrant?
An immigrant native.
Native. I don't know. They sound like
Native.
words that don't go together.
They don't. It doesn't make sense. That was our brilliant statement by our local newscast lady on the radio. She was saying, I'm on a border state. I'm
New Mexico.
right by the Navajo Nation.
Yeah.
And she goes, our immigrant native population. And I'm going, huh? Say what?
Well, I don't know
doesn't
what
make
she was
sense.
trying to get across. Well, I don't know whether those terms go together, but I think what she's trying to say is that I know that the Navajo Nation or parts of it or whatever are split by the border. That there's in fact the border goes through the Indian Nation, and so
I think there needs to be an adjective between the immigrant and native, and then you would have something that made sense.
Okay, so what do you think?
Like our immigrant Florida natives in Arizona.
Okay, so in this case it would be immigrant Native Americans or something, right? Like the continents are America.
Right. So you could have immigrant South American Native Americans.
They definitely have Native Americans, if you want to use that terminology. To me, I'm a Native American. I was born here. But if you want to use that terminology, that they're definitely born south of the border.
Maybe the TV lady was getting into the cooler in the closet.
You were referencing the last segment where the beer's kept. Jay, thank you for the call. It's an interesting question. For me, when I address this question with people, is that to me it's far less about the law. The law is a bunch of words scribbled on paper by liars and thieves who are irresponsible for their actions. That's what I call politicians, and I think a lot of Americans
and
agree
teenagers.
Yeah, that too. Yes, right. But I repeat myself. People who act like teenagers. So, by the way, the phone line's open at 603-283-6160. To me, free people can cross the borders of a free country freely, or you don't have free people and you don't have free countries. And you have an interesting problem with both parties. On one hand, the people who are most rabidly anti-immigrant seem to be Republican, when in fact the people who are most pro-labor are Democrat. But the biggest problem with immigrants is that they affect labor.
Yes.
Democrats should be anti-immigrant, and Republicans.
So tell me again what you believe about being able to cross the border.
That I think that everybody should be able to do it. Now, if you want a solution that's more practical, I would create a new designation, call it the blue card. At the border, you come in, you say, hey, my name's Jose, and I'm here to work. And you get your card, and that card basically says, A, you're not a citizen of the United States. You're not eligible for any kind of
It establishes your identity.
What's that?
It establishes your identity.
Right. It establishes identity. It says you're not eligible. I mean, they take some biometric data or whatever, because governments love that kind of stuff. They just love some data.
Right.
And it says you can work, but you don't get any of the benefits. You don't have to pay certain taxes, because why would you have to pay, say, Social Security when you're not going to get it? So, and you can't vote. Not only can't you vote, but you're saying you perhaps this is just a nod to the Republicans, because you have to make a compromise that works. Maybe you say, and you will never be eligible to be a citizen of the United States. So, or whatever,
well, I don't think you can do that.
Why not?
Well, because you're creating a different class of person, not just a regulation, because some people are allowed to become citizens of the United States that immigrate.
Fine, if the people want to go through the process. I'm just trying to come up with a compromise that works between the two groups, because what the Republicans are like, those Democrats just want to bring in people that vote Democrat. And I don't think that's an entirely inaccurate statement. And the Democrats are all like, well, the Republicans are creating slave labor. And they are, right? So I think that there needs to be some kind of compromise here rather than just no immigration, never. That's not anything that works. And America's turning against that notion, too. So if somebody wants a solution, there it is. That's the best thing I can come up with. I don't think.
What surprises me is how many people that identify, in my contact with people that identify as libertarian, don't believe that there should be freedom to cross borders like that.
Yeah,
they're faux libertarians.
Right. Those are Republicans that believe in smoking pot. So whatever the situation is, I think that we need to come up with a solution for immigration, because what we have currently is a disaster. And I don't think that solution is nothing, never, because that's just not a solution to anything. That's my solution. It's the best I can do. If you've got some kind of better solution, I'd love to hear it from you at 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. Looks like the phone lines are kind of lined up. So write that down and then get ready to talk about it here in the short term. The number, 603-283-6160. Another thing I would do, Henry, is I'd get rid of birthright citizenship. If somebody who's born in Czechoslovakia can come over here and pass the citizenship exam and be able to vote, then Americans should be able to too.
So where are we going to send the people that don't meet the mark edge qualification
Well,
test?
I don't think that there's a problem with somebody not being a citizen being in the country. I just wouldn't let them vote. If you can't pass the American citizenship test one time, then you should not be able to vote.
You're going to make them a legal resident?
Yeah, well, that's what they'd be.
Oh, well, you didn't specify
Everything's
that.
legal. I mean, they already got,
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to hear more of your ideas. Actually, I'd rather hear callers' ideas because.
Well, let's go ahead and bring on George from South Carolina real quick. George, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, going back to teenage drinking, I grew up in the 70s, and my mom, she point blankly looked at me and said, "If you want to drink, you can drink at home."
I think it's a better place to drink.
She even bought the beer.
Did you drink outside the home?
Nope. Not until I went in the military.
I think this is a better system if it works with the individual.
What if your parents aren't fun drinkers?
Probably not. Did your mom drink, George?
She drank occasionally.
But she didn't sit down with you and shotgun beers.
She drank rum and stuff like that while I was stuck.
Were you able to bring friends over to drink with you?
No.
That was just drinking. I'm kind of surprised that you didn't want to go out and drink with friends.
I mean, she looked at it this way, and I had to agree with her. You go out drinking with your buddies. Number one, you're underage. Number two, if you get caught drinking and driving, she looked at me and said, "You get caught drinking and driving, you get to stay in the jailhouse."
Yeah, she wasn't going to pull your butt out of there either. I'm interested in these stories. What'd your parents do about drinking? 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160.
On March 16th of this year, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the Mighty Moose Mart, the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Andy and Renee Spinella, Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, the studios of Free Talk Live. The Crypto Six were arrested, most were released, but Rich Paul, also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman both remain in custody. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed, but that didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight against these charges. But as importantly, contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency well into the future. Help our fight for liberty and financial freedom at thecrypto6.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. Somehow or another, we got on underage drinking and immigration. So, whatever your topics are there. The question with underage drinking is, did your parents have some unusual system for teaching you how to, because whether you do anything or not as a parent, you're still teaching your kid how to drink. If 97% of Americans, adult Americans, have drank, and I'll bet you the vast majority of them had their first drink prior to the age of 21 or whatever the legal age was at the time of their choosing, then in fact, you're training them, because you're leaving the training to a bunch of irresponsible, pimply-faced teenagers, which is what my and your parents did. Right, Henry?
Well, my dad said, son, he didn't really call me son, but, you should only have one drink per hour. And I nodded like I acknowledged the wisdom of that. And I thought to myself that you will never get drunk only having one drink an hour. And that is not going to work.
Right. Because, yeah. And this is the thing I'm talking about is there's nothing like doing for teaching. And I think that, a kid's going to have his first drink. I think he should have his first drink with his dad or his mom, barring that, his mom. Depends on the situation. It's your family. You figure it out. But, my first drink was not anywhere near, was not these people.
Maybe sis should have her first drink with mom. But I think the male of the household should be drinking with the male, but I don't think you should be drinking with any of them. I think you got to find your own way on some things.
Well, I agree that sometimes you got to find your own way in life. Let's see what Jack has to say. Jack, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, set the stage. It's back in 1996, 1997. Have you guys ever been on Burnside in Portland? All the bars?
I have been to Portland, and I must have been on Burnside. Yeah, I'll say yes.
Okay, there was a place, I was 16, and I had an ID that was Christopher Van Hoonenson. That was a decent-looking. Well, he was a pale, bearded man with curly hair. And so that was my fake ID. So my first place I ever went to, which you guys were talking about earlier, was Mary's Nude Review, right on Broadway and Burnside, across from the Roseland Theater.
Jack's the winner of the trifecta, man.
Yeah. And
Mary's Nude Theater?
Too. What's that?
Was it Mary's Nude Theater?
Yeah, Nude Review. And it was like gothic strippers, and Portland obviously is famous for it. And I was only 16.
I had no idea that Portland was famous for gothic strippers. When I visited Portland, the first thing that I did when my wife was checking in is the lady, the person behind the counter, because I do not want to gender this person. The person behind the counter went ahead and said, "Is there anything else? What is it you guys are looking to do while you're in Portland?" And I said, "I want to go to the anarchist commune." She just turned from me and looked back at my wife. Like she didn't even acknowledge that I existed.
That's aggressive.
Yep.
Yeah, Jack is the winner caller of the night in my book because he combined two topics: first underage drinking location with first nude bar. I had to wait till like months after my first drink to get in a nude bar.
Thank you for the call, Jack. Congratulations to you.
It was actually one of the last, I think, real burlesque, not real burlesque because there wasn't a real burlesque, but burlesque acts. I was trying to think that I saw.
I must have been in my late 20s by the time I made it to a nude bar.
Well, it was a dying art. Then.
Burlesque?
Yeah, it was the only time I ever saw that. After that, it became...
What identifies burlesque from just any other form of dancing and in some level of disrobing?
She was in there was a circular bar, and she was in the center of it, and she would perform some stuff and invite people up and do skits. Not skits. I don't know.
She'd dance around them, move the boa around their neck kind of thing, or... The same thing that they'll do at a nude bar when it's your bachelor party.
Not quite.
No? Okay. Well,
I remember, much like I remember before AIDS, I remember before lap dances were invented.
I've never had one of these things, so I can't say. All it is people gyrating at each other, right?
Of course I never had that.
I haven't.
I just remember the signs of it all.
The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. If it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, you can call in and talk about these or any other subjects. Henry, I know we had show prep and you decided to circumvent show prep over drinking story.
I didn't. I realized there's 3 hours of this show, and I thought maybe we need a little diversion before we.
It is a Saturday night.
Yeah, well, we drinking in nude bars, man. We're good for a Saturday night.
For me, like drinking stories.
Not like I condone what nude bars have become, because there's now sex trafficking and stuff. It used to be a much more wholesome place to.
I don't know.
Lots of college students making their way through.
I'm sure that's exactly what it was.
Yes,
sure, it was college students making their way through. For me, when it comes to drinking, the topic to me is much more interesting when it's parents making these decisions. For me, I've got a 13-year-old, and I really do have to make these decisions at some point in the relatively near future. I suspect he will be interested in consuming alcohol sometime in the next 5 years, and I got to have these conversations. And what I've always thought was, well, I'm gonna
just have him go out with Uncle Henry.
You don't drink either. Who's gonna go?
Who better to chaperone?
You know who I'm not going to send him out with? I'm certainly not going to send him out with his Uncle Ian. Yeah, Ian is is my co-host here on Free Talk Live. One of the founders of Free Talk Live, and he's currently sitting in a jail cell in Merrimack, New Hampshire, for selling Bitcoin. Yeah, you ask the FBI agents, but that's the general gist of it in broad strokes. But man, that guy and mind-altering substances, I have no intention of letting him anywhere near my kid when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, you should ask our guest tomorrow about mind-altering substance. That's not what he's coming to talk about. He's coming to talk about the Tulsa Race Massacre that's just hitting its 100th anniversary this coming week. But he has also written quite a bit about psychedelics.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a good argument. It was made in, which story was it? It was a Tom Robbins novel. I'm going to say it was Skinny Legs and All, but I could be wrong. Where he posited that, in fact, abstract thought was brought to the Australopithecus being, this little funny monkey that we were at one point, by the consumption of mushrooms found in yak poop. And psilocybin mushrooms are what caused people to be able to think the way they do today. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it was God. Maybe it was just
like a bunch of poop.
Maybe it was just a superhuman being that decided, poof, this dust is human. I don't know. It's all a bunch of silly stories, so who knows what's what. I wouldn't be able to say one way or the other. Let's go to Adam calling in from Washington. Adam, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it going?
All's well. What's on your mind?
Well, you're talking about the underage drinking thing?
Yep.
Yeah, I was probably 8 years old when I had my first taste of alcohol.
How'd that turn out?
I grew up in a musician family, and I played violin in grade school, and had a lot of memories of New Year's Eve parties where my parents, invited relatives and friends and stuff, and everybody wanted to hear me play, and so I was fed drinks, and I have a lot of memories of.
I'm curious about this, Adam. People who drink a lot, especially at quite young ages, tend to have some real problems. I mean, there's a sort of an age where there's a breaking point. And I think it's best that people make it beyond that breaking point, whatever that breaking point is. And I want to ask you some more about that here in the near future. The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live. I will say my first taste of alcohol was probably at some age similar to what Adam's was. But I didn't like it. Free Talk Live.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Not so quiet diplomacy. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Biden speaking with the Egyptian leader today about a possible ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Our approach here and our strategic approach here is to continue to communicate directly, stay closely interlocked with the Israelis, with partners on the ground, to do everything we can to bring an end to the conflict.
Spokeswoman Jen Psaki says the U.S. has had dozens of engagements with leaders in the region. At this point, though, the fighting continues. The House approving nearly $2 billion to boost Capitol security, but it passed by just one vote. Now heading to the Senate, along with a bill to create an independent commission to probe the Capitol riot. The Department of Homeland Security plans to ramp up social media tracking, part of enhanced focus on domestic violent extremism, but they're also acknowledging civil liberty concerns and insist the focus will be on deterring crime, not policing speech. Day 2 of testimony over the murder of a college student in Iowa. Fox's Jeff Manasso has this live.
Lisa, prosecutors in the trial of Mexican national Christian Rivera say it was video surveillance cameras at a home in Brooklyn, Iowa, that first caught what appeared to be a jogger in 2018, believed to be then missing 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts. The cameras then caught something else.
From the
Overburdened with material comforts, America's wealthy can expect another disappointing holiday this year. As Brian Scott tells us, the rich will simply be buying too many things to experience the true meaning of Christmas.
All across the country, those at the top of the economic ladder are denied a privilege that the poorest of the poor take for granted. Rather than fall victim to the rampant consumerism that seems to increase each year, the poor find meaningful joy in simple Christmas traditions, like singing carols to keep warm and hugging relatives who have not yet died. At stores like these, the spiritually bereft must scramble for popular holiday toys in a vain attempt to duplicate the Christmastime happiness that the impoverished enjoy.
Poor people are grateful for just a roof over their heads or something to eat. My wife and I are both lawyers, so that's not enough for us. Certainly hope poor people don't take what they don't have for granted.
This is the Onion News Network.
The entire nation has been transfixed by the emotional saga of missing toddler Aaron Crawford. Police remain baffled by 4-year-old Aaron's mysterious disappearance. The Crawford family is finally speaking out, but it isn't easy.
We're taking it day by day, you know? We just miss our baby so much.
This must be so hard on everyone.
All he does is cry. I hate him.
Little Aaron was last seen in the bedroom he shares with his older brother, Denny. Authorities say he was abducted by an intruder in the middle of the night.
Denny was in the room when Aaron was taken.
Yeah, right here. Now it's just my room.
Denny, can you tell us what happened?
I was in my room. A man lifted up the window and came in.
Were you scared?
Yes, because I thought he's going to take my Xbox.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. The number, 603-283-6160. Now, you have to write that down and hold on to it because our phone lines are full right now. The number, 603-283-6160. Oh, we just lost Adam.
Adam?
He left.
Adam, I had so many questions for you. So, actually, on the break, Adam, I was asking Mark, please let me talk to Adam, but I understand we have a really interesting caller that was waiting.
Let's just go right to Linda then. Linda, you're on Free Talk Live. Linda, can you hear me now? How about now? I will put Linda on hold. I will let the Captain Kickass, my executive producer in New Hampshire, check it out and see what's going on with Linda.
I found Adam fascinating because he was an 8-year-old violinist that played at his parents' house parties.
Yep.
And so I'm thinking, is he that good, or is it just one of those things? Oh, Adam is trying, and we want to indulge him with some attention. But then they wanted to feed him alcohol, and I'm wondering, did he get more creative? Did he play better?
Does that happen?
People think it does.
I think they do think it does. I think that the evidence that alcohol makes you better at anything is slim.
The famous Carlos Santana clip from Woodstock, the movie. He was tripping out on acid at that time.
Tripping on acid is different than being drunk.
For some people, but, what about the musicians of the 40s? They didn't have either. They might have had a little bit of weak marijuana.
I'm not claiming that you can't play an instrument if you have a lot of practice. What I'm claiming is that what my claim would be is that there are nigh few things that you can do as well drunk as you can do sober.
Unless you're just too inhibited and then you need something to loosen you up.
Yeah, perhaps, but, a little bit of practice.
Maybe some therapy.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go to Linda. She's back, supposedly. Linda, you back?
I am.
Great.
Can you hear me?
What's on your mind?
Well, I have a couple of things to pass along that might be worth hearing. So I grew up in a home where my parents did not drink and were very peaceful and loving, and so that was my environment. And when as I got older, I drank and, smoked pot, whatever was going on. But then married a fighter pilot, and he said no more drugs. But they drank like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see that it ever helped any of them. And then I was divorced and then married a pro hockey player, and he drank like crazy, and still to this day doesn't. It has not helped him. He's a tax attorney as well, but high functioning people can drink, obviously. But I had 2 children, and as they grew up, I said to them, no drinking, no gambling, no drugs. Because, I didn't know, and I had seen so many tragedies, I didn't know what would help. And so one of my children, my son, doesn't drink or do anything, and yet my daughter really struggled with those issues. So she passed away, and I have a 6-year-old grandson that I adopted, and I took him to kind of Skid Row, and not in a mean way, but in a compassionate way, talk to him about the people who were lying around drinking, and what a tragedy it was in their life.
Your very own temperance play.
Right. So I don't drink any longer, but and so the answer is I don't know the answer, but I haven't seen anyone that it has helped.
Of the people that it hurt, did any of them try and change? Did you observe that?
My daughter did. Yes, and I do see that. I had a friend who was the head of the county commission board who had lived under a bridge. I won't say too much because I don't want to identify him, even though he has passed. But he drank to the point that he lived under a bridge, and then ended up coming back to where he had grown up and became the chairman of the county council, and was it was always an issue to him, but he got through it and became fully functioning.
Yeah, I think that this phrase doesn't do you any good. This is one that was really powerful for me when I was choosing, do I want to drink? Do I not want to drink? For me, it wasn't any big deal. Like, I wasn't sleeping under a bridge or anything like that. It was all about, I got a few extra pounds I can't take off. And I know that alcohol slows your metabolism and these kind of things. And I just wanted to be able to take off these pounds, and I couldn't do it. But, I would say that I hear this. It doesn't do me any good. I mean, I drank for many years. Whenever you say you drank, it sounds like you were laying on the floor drunk every single night. And by no means was I. I'm talking about, 2 glasses of wine a night sometimes, that kind of thing. Some nights more, some nights none, plenty of nights none. I can say that the biggest torture for me was I'm only going to drink once a week. I make these, these sort of statements. I'm just going to drink 1 day a week. And then I just suffer waiting for that day, and that really sucked. That was a really crappy decision. Anyway, I wasn't intending to have an AA meeting tonight. I was just talking about how people talk to their kids about alcohol, because this is an important topic. I don't want to judge anybody. I don't want to say your habits of drinking are bad. You know whether they are or not. And if they are,
I think Linda gives an important observation. I mean, she's noticed this in people that have been very close to her.
Thank you for the call, Linda.
And there's different theories that I'm aware of alcoholism. So we probably have to go to a break, so I don't want to try and explain them right before that. But, there's the AA approach that, you are going to be an alcoholic because you're destined to be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And there's another theory, and I was trying to search while Linda was talking, that I was familiar with, and I'm familiar with the theory, but not I can't recall the name of the person that put it forward. There's a whole school of thought about this. And any recreational drug that becomes a problem for you, it becomes a problem. You can be going along fine, and then when you use it to avoid a problem that you need to deal with, that's when it becomes the problem that hangs over your life.
Well, let me ask you this. Pick a drug that you know is addictive.
Let's
use tobacco.
All right. But actually, we had multiple kinds of addiction when I was in middle school, when they tried to teach us about how to go against drugs and navigate your way. But anyway, go ahead.
You may be dependent on things. I suppose you can become dependent on ice cream, but I think addiction is a physical addiction is probably the best way to describe things. I don't think you can putter around with tobacco. You can't consume, if you consume enough tobacco consistently enough over a period of time, no one will argue with you that you will become addicted to it. If you consume enough heroin consistently and over time, no one will argue with you become addicted to it. People will argue all day long that if you consume enough alcohol consistently for enough period of time, that you will not become addicted to it. Like, you could drink heavily. I'm telling you, they're all over the place.
And they say the opposite about tobacco and heroin?
No. They say that tobacco and heroin are addictive, but that alcohol is not. It's somehow different. And I disagree. I say alcohol is an addictive substance.
Yeah, how could it be addictive if you could buy it on every street corner?
The number. Oh, by the way, Adam's back, so you get to ask your questions.
Right now, or when we come back from break?
There's the music's playing, Henry. There's nothing you can do. The number 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live.
I have no clock.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
And Henry.
Yeah, Henry, you're still here doing the show. Good Lord. What's going on? Just want to tell you real quick about Liberty.menu. We've been asked many times over the years to come up with a yellow pages for libertarian businesses. And we did that. It's called Liberty.menu, and you can go there and you can list your business for free. As all you have to do is, click on our little thing and take our pledge to the non-aggression principle, and that's fine. Also, if you only want to shop at libertarian businesses, well, they're there listed for you at liberty.menu. So go check it out. It's liberty.menu. Henry, we had on the line Adam, and some kind of technical issue occurred, and Adam had to drop off, but he is back now. Now, Adam was a violinist who, at 8 years old, began to play parties at his parents' house and was plied with drinks. And you want to ask the question?
That's judgmental.
What do you mean?
Plied.
Well, I don't know.
Offered
given drinks?
That's what we need to find out from Adam himself.
All right, Adam's on the line.
Adam,
yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for calling back.
No,
Adam,
no
let me ask you, I'm sorry to step on you before you could speak, but how would you evaluate your skill as a violinist at age 8?
Not very. I was a beginner, but I grew up in a musical family, and so I had, a natural gift, I guess, if you will, and I was drawn to it at an early age, and so, and all of my family and my family's friends that I grew up around when I was young, they were all more country folks, and so they liked country music, and it was easy to play country music, and so it was easy to play something that people could dance to, and the more that I made them dance, the more they would feed me drinks, and
And how did it turn out? That's the question I
have. Not very good at all.
Okay. So when this first started, and we're talking about early drinking, this is the earliest drinking we've heard from anybody yet. Did you like it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it made me feel grown up, and I remember my folks saying, "Well, you know, he's got to learn somehow. He's got to learn somehow." And so they let me, quote unquote, learn on my own. You know, thinking it would. And I remember getting so freaking sick that you know, between hurls I would say, oh God, I'm never going to drink again, never going to drink again. But you know,
and they knew you were getting sick?
Oh yeah. Oh, the next day after this, oh man, I was so sick.
Okay, and which continued longer, your drinking or your violin playing?
Well, my violin continued up until just a few years ago. My arthritis got so bad I couldn't hold it very well, so I gave my violin to my granddaughter. But now I play the mandolin, and I've always played the drums and sang my whole life. I've been a musical person since I was old enough to walk.
Did you make your livelihood as a musician?
Yeah, well, when I lived in, I'm from Oregon originally, live in Washington now, and I was in several bands after I got out of the military in the mid-'80s.
Okay, so then how did the drinking follow you through your life?
It was a part of the whole thing, man. It was a part of the whole thing. And it, you know, all I can say is that I knew when I had become an alcoholic, I knew I was an alcoholic, and I had to, I went to AA meetings. I mean, I went down the road that a lot of people go down. I got in trouble. I had to go to mandatory meetings, and went through a lot of changes in my life, and actually got laughed out of a meeting one time down in Salem, Oregon, because we were talking about our higher power, and I had turned my life over to God, and so I called my higher power Jesus Christ, and everybody just thought that was funny. You know, it was okay if I would have called him my higher power a tree named Fred or whatever, that would have been okay, but because I called my higher power Jesus Christ, they laughed me out of the meeting, literally. So,
now, did you ever say that at a different group and get laughed at too?
Oh yeah, because a lot of groups from NA and AA are very anti-religious, and you mentioned the word Jesus, and oh gosh, boy, you can open up a can of worms, man. You know, they call themselves a spiritual group, but in my opinion, you can't get spiritual unless you talk about God.
It's interesting to me that AA started out as it's a church basically, and their mission was to reach alcoholics, what they called alcoholics. I reject the notion of alcoholics, but whatever the case may be. And it's interesting that these people took part of the message of AA and NA, and they wouldn't take the rest, which is that this is very religiously based.
I probably have more familiarity with AA meetings than the average person, and at least in Florida, there wasn't that judgmental thing when you talked about a higher power or however you found your faith. So I wonder if it's a northwestern U.S. kind of thing.
Could be. What do you think about that, Adam?
If a person can get into a good group, that's great. I was just unfortunately not able to get in a good group at the time that I needed to get into a good group, so I had to find my solace elsewhere.
How'd you find it?
Through developing a close relationship with Jesus Christ, by reading the Bible all the way through and getting some counseling on how to think right, and then I went to work. I developed a strong work ethic, and I went to work. I stopped fiddle farting around, if you will, and I went to work.
Well, I think that's absolutely true, is that if you've got some kind of substance abuse problem and you can put that to the side, you can get a lot more work done than you did before. Adam, thank you for calling back. I do appreciate it. The number 603-283-6160. Let me repeat that. I kind of got that wrong. 603-283-6160.
Let me just say quickly to Adam out there, hopefully he's still listening. I think that him putting himself out there like that, you never know, but there's probably people that he helped with that honesty.
Sure, absolutely. Your story can always be helpful to somebody. It's edifying to someone. Let's go to the phones. Pepsi, calling in from the Bronx. Pepsi, you're on Free Talk Live.
All right, well, first of all, let me just say hats off to Alan, because everything that he went through, these few minutes that he spent with you guys, I mean, who knows how many people got the message, and it's just what they needed to hear, because,
probably about 100,000.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people that needed to hear it? That it was meant for them. They're thinking that he was speaking directly to them. And God bless him, man. Congratulations. And the thing I was thinking about listening to this, he said he gave some stuff to his grandkids, right?
Yeah, his violin.
Right, his violin to his grandkids. So that means, like, when he was 8, it was like maybe 40, 50 years ago, and it was a different time. And he said he was doing, like, country parties. So, some people may think him playing the violin, like playing classical stuff, but if it was a backwoods kind of party, it was like, maybe some hold-down fiddling, Oh,
yeah, he was fiddling, no doubt about it. Pepsi, hold the line if you would, please. I know we didn't get to anything like what you wanted to talk to here on Free Talk Live. The number, 603-283-6160.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your minds. I'm going to hold off on giving out the number because the phone lines are full, and I can give them out any time when they drop off. So I'll do that after we talk to Pepsi here. Pepsi's calling in from the Bronx, and let's go to that call right now. Pepsi, you're back on Free Talk Live.
Hey, so where did I leave off?
You were just giving accolades to Adam, who called in.
Yeah, so anyway, in a nutshell, I was just saying that he grew up in a different era, and his parents brought him up the way they knew how to bring him up, and sometimes when you're brought up a certain way, you get used to a certain state of mind. Like certain people, they can't function unless they have their alcohol or their drug of choice. And when they do, they perform normally, and excuse me. It was a thing where it all depends on what's good. And it made me think about WKRP in Cincinnati. Do you remember that show?
Oh, I love that show. Oh, the humanity.
The episode where Johnny Fever, it was Johnny Fever. He was with this highway patrol officer to show the ill effects of alcohol. So when he was sober, they timed him on how fast his reaction was to ring a bell. And the more alcohol they gave him, the better his reaction got, So it really wasn't a good representation on the ills and woes of alcohol, because that was
called
just
a fictional
normal
story.
Yeah, it has to be fictional.
No, but no, it's fictional, but they got it from some real events because, trust me, I know some people, and at times I'm like that. It's just like with coffee, right? Coffee's a drug, and, if I don't have it, I might feel a certain way where I can't function at my optimum level, but give me a cup or two or five, and I'm like, it's my normal, So it all depends. And I think that with drugs, the whole word is like abuse because just like you have pharmaceutical companies and doctors who prescribe certain medications to take care of certain things, but I still think that they could go from the macro to the micro and pay more attention to each specific patient because if the body's made of and runs on chemicals, and sometimes you need certain adjustments. And so every drug could have its benefits. It's to the point where you start abusing it and using it the wrong way that it does more harm than good, And I think very few people have the discipline to take certain kind of drugs without some kind of oversight, some kind of help with or to pay attention to what they're doing,
So what I would say to that is that more people die in America every single year from prescribed drugs, the drugs that were prescribed to them, than the people who die from illicit drugs. At least that statistic was true before the heroin, or what do they call it, the opiate crisis. I haven't checked it recently, and it may have changed as a result. But, ultimately, this is... drugs are drugs, and you got to decide for yourself. You're responsible for your health. Your doctor is not. And you've got to figure out what works for you. Your doctor's seeing 15, 20, 30 patients a day, and they don't have time to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Pepsi, by the way, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. The number 603-283-6160. And like with anything in life, your dietitian isn't responsible for what you eat. You are. And your doctor's not responsible for the drugs you take. And Pepsi's absolutely right. Caffeine's a drug.
Your doctor's responsible for the drugs that are prescribed.
Oh, I'll give you that.
And your doctor writing prescriptions over and over again will notice a pattern.
I'll give you that.
Do we have somebody waiting? Or
yeah, we do. We got David, New Mexico. Okay. You want him?
I'll wait.
Here we go. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, man, I want you to analyze this. We got this radio host, right? His name is Jim Villanucci. He's on the Big Stick KKOB here, a Cumulus station. And he talks all the time on the radio about how he was a drunk for about 6 years or so. Matter of fact, he got thrown off the radio, KKOB in Albuquerque, because he is a drunk, and he's gone. Now they let him back on there, and you tell me, he was an abusive dude before. You remember Sarah, right?
Yeah, Sarah was a caller here on Free Talk Live for many years. I haven't heard from her in a long time.
Well, she calls in to locally, including Jim Villanucci, and even he was always abusive to her. Just abusive, and she was always nice to him. And then he left, and he came back, and for a couple of weeks, he was not so abusive. He was more humble and mild, and I thought, oh, okay, so that was the alcohol that was making him be such a jackass to nice people like Sarah and everybody else. But now, after a couple of weeks, he's back to being a jackass again. And so, what's up with that? What role did the alcohol play in this dude's personality and his character?
What time period are we talking about? Is this just over the last few weeks, or something you've been observing for a while?
Well, which part? Observing which part?
After he came back, after he got sober, and he was nice for a couple weeks. How long ago was that?
That's just recently. He just came back like a month ago, and he was okay. He was like a real human being. I even told him on the air, I said, Jim, you've changed. And then that lasted about 3 weeks, and now he's back to being, abusive to his callers again. So I guess it wasn't the alcohol.
Right. That's the question I have, is that although I don't know anything about Jim and whatever his last name is, and all the best to him, perhaps his program director said, hey, I don't know what you were doing before, but you were getting better ratings back then. Or, an advertiser or whatever the situation was. It's just it's a thought that passed through my head.
Yeah, well, I don't know. And it was pretty funny, though. Sarah called into his show one day, right after I had called in, and she says to Jim, after he's been gone a long time, she says, oh, it's so nice to hear David's voice on the radio again. And it was like, wah, wah, wah. Jim Villanucci was really pleased to hear that.
Yeah, I bet he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the call, David.
I wonder if he calls that show, he calls this show. Perhaps he has a calling addiction.
Well, David certainly. David lives frugally, and I've gotten his whole story here on the air. The guy's amazing. He spends very, very little money, and he manages to live life quite well out there in rural New Mexico, keeping an eye on things and listening to the radio. He's very active. He's an activist, really. He's a legal activist, and fascinating dude. But I can imagine, I know that desperation to get more and more callers and more listeners on your show. I had that before I had 200 radio stations, and I don't have that anymore, right? I know that people just call in and talk about the things that they're going to talk about, and I let them talk for as long as I let them talk, and that's just what we do here on the radio.
Well, you don't have a program director either.
I am the assistant, the unofficial assistant program director of Free Talk Live, right? And Ian Freeman, who is now sitting in jail, being the official one. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And somebody like David calls in, and he's got his idea of what he wants to talk about. And if you're talking about, if you're one of these people who's feeling that level of desperation, you want this show to be the very best it can be. And I'm not of the opinion that feeling works. I think that the best show is a show where you're talking and you're having a good time talking. You got to feel good while you're doing the show for the show to be good. But if you're having that tight feeling and David calls in and he wants to talk about what it is that he wants to talk about, that tight feeling is going to cause you to be mean to somebody like David or Sarah. He was mentioning Sarah there on the air, and Sarah's used to call into Free Talk Live, and she was obsessive about talking about things like pedestrian deaths in Albuquerque, New Mexico. and these kind of things. And she didn't drink, she didn't do drugs, she didn't do any of those things. So people who might be doing those things, who are operating a motor vehicle, bothered the heck out of her. She didn't go out of her house very much. And she was just fascinating to talk to, but, I can see why people might find her boring at some point. The number, 603-283-6160.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Anyone can publish on the internet, but not everyone is publishing material suited for online reading. According to the Yahoo Style Guide, it cautions that internet content has a few seconds, 3 or less, to encourage people to read more, to take action, or navigate to another one of your pages. So make it easy for readers to pick and choose. Isn't that the way you poke around online? Use short words, short sentences, short paragraphs, bulleted lists, and short pages. Front load what you write, putting the most important information at the beginning of headlines and paragraphs and sentences. Same goes for your keywords, what someone would likely type into the search box on Yahoo or Google. For more tips on communicating better online or in a job interview or everyday life, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, final segment. I do want to thank those who are amplifiers, amping Free Talk Live, specifically tonight, Mr. Spooner. Mr. Spooner is a silver amplifier, I believe. You know what? I don't have that information in front of me. Mr. Spooner is an amplifier. You can be an amplifier by going to AMP. That's AMP as an advertise, market, and promote. AMP. amp.freetalklive.com and support Free Talk Live as Mr. Spooner has done. Now, I happen to know the reference of Mr. Spooner, and I'm sure Mr. Spooner would appreciate me saying, read Lysander Spooner. He was an abolitionist from the, call it the 1860s, 1870s, 1880s. He had actually a correspondence exchange with Grover Cleveland, and those letters are very interesting. So.
That's much more interesting than what I was thinking.
What was that?
I thought that Mr. Spooner really liked to cuddle.
Well, I wouldn't know what Mr. Spooner likes to do, but who doesn't like to cuddle? I mean, cuddling's nice. Let's go to James calling in from West Virginia. James, you're on Free Talk Live.
What's that West Virginia stuff?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say to him.
Yeah, well, I'm from Florida, so I can make fun of country.
Okay, well, all right. Anyway, I am, believe it or not, I'm now 71 years old, and I was thinking back to when I was 30, and that's the year I finally realized that even though I would own my home, no, let me back up. I would pay off my house and property. I would never own it. It took me to 30 years to figure that one out, and I was thinking, why did they not teach us in government in high school that you can never, ever own any property in the United States of America, and probably most places for that matter, but we're talking about here. And
can you sell your property?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing.
How can you sell something you don't own?
Well, because, I've owned my property in my house now for 25 years, free and clear, all right? No mortgage, no nothing. But the problem is I pay $2,000 a year, which is relatively low because we're in West Virginia, property taxes. If I don't pay that property tax, it's nothing but a rent to me. If I don't pay my rent, they will take my property away from me, even though I, quote, own it, unquote. I don't own it. Nobody owns their property.
Sounds more like you're paying a service fee.
Right.
Well, but you're paying the service fee for some services in many cases you never asked for, and you're paying a rate that you never got to negotiate.
Yes, you asked for them. You bought the home.
I see. Well, the premise is that you signed up for it, right? But what if, let's ask this. In many cases, you did buy the home. But what if I inherited the property from my father or mother? What if I inherited it from my family? Then I didn't opt in. It's just...
Sell it then. It's your property. You own it.
You don't own it.
Yes, you're going to sell it.
Try not paying that tax and see whether you own it or not.
That's
a different question.
No, it's not. Let me ask you this question, Henry. So I concur with Jim on this, and Jim, I'm going to, since I can go back and forth with Henry here a little more quickly. The serf in 15th century England who paid a quit rent of 10 bushels of grain to the lord of the land every year, and then a little more when the lord wanted to fight a war. Did that serf own his land when he had to give the
serf
fruits?
Was the land. That's what serfs were.
Not true. Serfs traveled a lot. People believe this, but it's not so.
With permission.
Well, people would do awful things to you in other towns, but if you brought something that they want, traders or these sorts of things.
We're going to argue about the historical point now, so we're going to waste time.
Quit rents are essentially what
that sounds like
taxes
a sharecropper.
Yeah? What's the difference?
The serf didn't... The feudal lord couldn't take the serf with him. The serf stayed with the land as part of the assets of the lord. I mean, what do I want to call it?
Well, a renter stays with the duplex when you sell it. If they've got a lease...
But if they're paid up, they get to leave. That's not, those are different things.
This is the same thing.
No,
property tax is a rent that you pay to the government.
Not a serf. A sharecropper is not a slave. A serf is not a slave. A slave is not a serf. Those are all different. An indentured servant is something else.
The distinctions... Go ahead.
I am renting the property that I own. I'm renting the property I own. That's what I'm doing.
You mean the property tax that you pay?
That's right.
Thanks for the call,
I mean,
James.
right now, it's
Whoops, sorry. Well, the button's pushed.
I understand that he doesn't feel like he owns it because he's always he can never pay it, all the fees off that are outstanding.
And don't forget that rate for the rent. The property tax that that we're disputing here. That rate changes in whatever way the bureaucrats
based on the
want it to change.
officials he elects.
What's that?
Based on the officials that he elects. And
He doesn't elect them.
And the rest of the people elect.
I haven't
The
voted.
majority of the people elect.
I have not voted for a president that has ever won. Not once. Not in my entire life. So how am I responsible for the wars they fight?
What are you doing?
You said that
I'm talking
he
about
elects.
his property tax.
I know. Well, what I'm saying is he didn't opt into those property taxes any more than I opted into the wars that...
Well, then he should elect people that are going to take it down to zero and provide no services.
Like I said, I have never voted. I voted many, many times, and I have never voted for a president that won.
Well, that's not his fault.
I'm telling you, it's not my fault either. So should I not have to listen to the presidents because I haven't voted for one that's won?
I do not see the connection between property tax and the president. That's your
because the
local
unaccountable
officials.
county bureaucrat that gets voted in by the knuckle-dragging morons in my county
Yes.
somehow gets to vote on what my tax rate's going to be, and then I have to abide by that or lose my property to these unaccountable people.
Exactly.
That's right. And that is unjust.
In your opinion.
No. I'm certain of it. Trading one king 1,000 miles away for 1,000 kings 1 mile away is not justice.
Oh, you want me to respond?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that the fire department comes when your house burns.
It's always the fire department.
Well, the police.
As a volunteer
or the
fire
garbage collector. But that's a separate fee. They contract that out.
Yeah, usually. Because they can't handle it competently.
But the mosquito control people, I'm glad when they come around.
I am too, I gotta say. And I think mosquito control might actually be one of these departments that we could really dispute because there's a public good that people will not pay for individually that the consequences actually are spread out. So when it comes to having private security, there are more private security people. This is what I've read on the internet. You can check this.
It must be true.
The veracity of it. That's why I'm caveating. There are more private security people than there are cops in America. If you want private security, you can get private security, and you can get it at a pretty reasonable rate. You don't need to pay these outrageous...
Private security is different from law enforcement.
Sure. Sheriff used to handle the county jail, and people would bring in lawbreakers and they would bring charges against them. And, things have changed since then. Now the cops go out and find people to bring back. And, that's something entirely different. As a volunteer firefighter for many, many years, I can tell you that firefighting can be done on less of a rate than you're currently paying here in beautiful Manatee County, Florida.
Well, we have a lot of feudal lords in our fire system here. We have the Southwest and the Northeast, and we got a lot of chiefs.
Well, that's how it goes. They set up little fiefdoms, and frankly, what we call government today has been handed down to us over the course of 10,000 years from warlord chiefs in the past, and the way it functions hasn't changed much. You probably won't get your beheaded by a guillotine, but they're still going to take your property. They're still going to take the fruits of your labor. They're still going to do all of these things. And they do it with no justification whatever. They say there's a social contract, but you may have to abide by it, but they don't. They get away with pretty much anything they want to get away with, and they change the terms of the contract anytime they wish. That's no contract. That's
very
just
enthusiastic about this.
I am. I call it serfdom. Modern day free range serfdom. And there's some differences in it than serfdom, but it's not that much different. If you stay here in the United States, you putter around, they'll give you a vote as if that actually changes anything.
I bet if we voted, most of the listeners would agree with you.
Maybe.
They would elect you the sheriff and the mayor.
Yeah, they'd be fools to make me in charge of anything. Power hungry. That's what these people are. The number. Well, I'm giving you the number. The website, freetalklive.com. Go check it out. It's been Mark with you.
And Henry.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Questioning Authority is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Not so quiet diplomacy. Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Biden speaking with the Egyptian leader today about a possible ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Our approach here and our strategic approach here is to continue to communicate directly, stay closely